Hey everybody, Tony here with a review of Interstellar, which was shown at the CineStar movie theaters at Potsdamer Platz. The film was directed, written, and produced by Christopher Nolan, who was also the director of such films like Inception, the Dark Knight Trilogy, and Man of Steel. It was co-produced by Emma Thomas and Linda Obst. It was co-written by Jonathan Nolan, and it stars Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Michael Caine, Jessica Chastain, Bill Irwin, Ellen Burstyn, and Casey Affleck. Now, when I saw the trailers for Interstellar, I was quite blown away, yet skeptical at first, until my very great friend from high school, Carlo, told me that this film was excellent and asked me if I can make a review of this film. And when I walked out of the theater and watched the film in its entirety, I was quite blown away. It was just a great ride. It was such a thrilling ride, and I could easily consider this a sibling film to that of Gravity. Now, going to the story of this film, why do I consider this sort of like a sibling film to Gravity? Well, if you think about it, both of these films take place in space. Both of them show how astronauts have to survive in such harsh conditions and work together as a team in order to survive. And it's basically about survival in general and the nature of the human body, the human spirit, and the human mind. And those are the things that really make Gravity and Interstellar quite relatable. But unlike Gravity, in which like 99% of the movie takes place in space and only like barely 10% or 1% of that movie is spent on Earth, we get to see the characters not only in Earth, but also in various planets. And we also get to see some characters also remaining in Earth. And it also tells the story about a father who is having a hard time with himself and trying to raise his family very well since he's also a widower. So he's trying to prove himself better to his children and especially to himself that he can do these things and that he can really prove that he can be a better man to them, which kind of frightens some of his children, especially that of his youngest daughter. But I'll get to the characters later. So even though the story isn't really anything that's spectacular, I could really see why this story has so many elements quite similar to that of Gravity. Not really a whole lot of elements, but a few select in between. But still, it manages to really make itself distinctive and make itself so full of tension, action, and it just really makes your heart race with no end. And then we go to the cinematography and editing. Everything about it is just so clean and so well detailed, especially all of the editing. It is just so well paced. It is just realistic, and there was not one moment where I thought it was like a CGI that was just too obvious, like any CGI model that was too obvious. In fact, they were all fantastic. Everything from the cinematography done by Hoyte van Hoytema was just so astounding, and the editing done by Lee Smith absolutely flawless. And much like its sister series, Gravity, everything about its visuals is just are just so stunning. It's just extremely stunning from beginning to end, and I can really see this as a contender for the Oscars in terms of having the best in editing. I could really see this film winning that award because the people behind this film really knew how to pull all of the stops and really make the film shine in terms of its visuals and in terms of its cinematography. It is just excellently done. And like I said, the visuals are just wonderful. They are just absolutely well done. And the music, what more can you expect from a composer like Hans Zimmer? He's composed the greatest like film music of all time. You've got music from Gladiator, and now we have Interstellar. And I thought that the music really like fits the mood of each situation. When the characters are in space, there is a sort of like stillness at first, and then when things get more high octane, there's a sort of rise in the brass section that just really leaves me like breathless. So the music is just awesome. It is just well worth buying the soundtrack. And with the characters I mostly follow were that of Coop, Murph, Tom, Dr. Brand, Dr. Mann, and also Dr. Brand's father, Mr. Brand. So let's start off with Cooper. Yes, Cooper is the typical dysfunctional father. Now, what makes him quite different from a lot of deadbeat dads or dads who are quite clueless is that, well, like if you look beyond him, he's actually very well educated. He really knows, or safe to say that he's been very well educated. He's very intelligent. He really knows his physics, his science, and everything. And you really get a great idea that what he does and what he says really comes out as fantastic advice. And, well, it really makes your brain keep on going and keep on functioning. And his relationship with Murph is quite complicated, as I'm pretty much sure that there are definitely kids who can relate to these type of characters, and I'm sure that there are a lot of dads who can also relate to Cooper. And I have to say, he's a very well written character, though not really the most spectacular or the most original, but still, he's probably one of the most relatable, and he definitely is a great character. Now, going to Murph as a character. Now, Murph basically starts off as a troubled little girl, and she's still troubled, especially when she grows up, because she feels that her father has abandoned her, and she feels that her father and her brother are the only family that she has, and her being the youngest takes a really great toll on her, especially when it comes to her father, because she feels like he's the only one that she can look up to, though at times they can get on each other's skin. And also, Murph is very intelligent for her age when she was a kid, which ultimately led her to, well, pursue a career in like a sort of physics and astronomy and many other fields of science in her adult years. So, yeah, with Murph, she's definitely a very fascinating character because of her relationship with her father, Cooper. Now we get to Dr. Brand. Now, when we first see Dr. Amelia Brand, she starts off as very uptight, very no nonsense, and just someone who has a very straightforward mind. And then when we get to see her on the mission, we see a more human side to her. We see a more vulnerable side to her because she always wears this strong and like very solid type of character on the outside, when there are moments where her vulnerability as a person really shows when she's on the mission, and that she also needs people in her life that she can support and that who can also support her. Not to mention there are moments that we also realize that there are some like issues that she has with her father back then, but I don't really want to spoil. But it's really safe to say that she's also another very well written character. And then we get to the robot TARS. I was just absolutely entertained seeing his presence. Now, when I first saw this character, I was almost quite surprised. I was almost thinking, is this some guy in a costume? Is this some guy like programming this robot? And I was thinking, oh, so this is the robot. And I have to say that the people behind making TARS did an absolutely fantastic job. They didn't go with the whole generic robot look, but instead they went for something that could really make TARS very distinctive from all of the other robots that we've seen in every type of media. His design is very unique and it looks very versatile. Not to mention, with him as a character, he is quite ironic in what he says, but he's very charming and very likable. He's basically the comic relief who manages to ease the tension throughout the course of the movie, which I really like, and it's a really welcome addition to have such a character like Tars. He's definitely worthwhile and just a lot of fun. And, well, that's all I can say about the characters. They are all very interesting, and even though they're not really the most original, they're definitely great. And we also have to mention something about Dr. Man. Now, his role in the movie is not really the most thankful. But it's also safe to say that he's quite fascinating as a character, that he has set his goals very well, and he feels like he's the type of person who has to really make his goals and dreams happen, but I dare not spoil what happens to him. That will totally be against this review. So overall, the characters are all phenomenal, though there are definitely not a lot of things that could make them stand out or probably make them look so distinctive. But with Tars, there is a lot of things that can make him quite distinctive from a lot of the other robot characters that I've seen in various forms of media. So the characters are really great all around. Now, the acting is simply put top notch. When you have performances done by Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, Michael Caine, Bill Irwin, Ellen Burstyn, Casey Affleck, you know that this is a recipe for a great film. Now, with Matthew McConaughey, this is another great role from him, and especially seeing him from Dallas Buyers Club, I thought he did fantastically in this role. This is definitely another role that I think he will be nominated for an Oscar. And Anne Hathaway, she has certainly come a long way since I saw her in Princess Diaries 1 and 2, The Devil Wears Prada, Brokeback Mountain, and here she is doing a lot more mature, like kick ass female roles, and that's just a great step for her in this role. I really hope to see Miss Hathaway in a lot more kick ass female roles because I'm sure that she can nail them very well. Now, with Jessica Chastain and Mackenzie Foy, well, let's start off with Mackenzie Foy as the younger Murph. I thought she was able to play Murph's snark, intelligent, and very rebellious nature very well, and I felt such a connection to her scenes with Mr. McConaughey as Cooper. She was just fantastic, and I really can see a great future for Mackenzie Foy as an actress. We'll never know, really. I mean, she'll definitely pursue it further in her career, so we'll never know. We'll wait and see, and I'm really excited to see what roles she has on her agenda. I could really see a bright future for this very young and talented actress. Now we go to Jessica Chastain. I was absolutely blown away by her performance. She was able to bring all of that fragility, all of that anger, all of that raw emotion that makes Murph so awesome. Now, with Casey Affleck, he didn't really have such a big role in this film as compared to the likes of, what do we call this, Out of the Furnace, where he played Christian Bale's younger brother. But still, his role was very substantial and it's very well done. Then we get to Bill Irwin as Tars. Now, when I saw in Wikipedia that Bill Irwin was also a clown, I definitely felt so enthralled by his performance. He really knew how to bring his experience with comedy in such a character as likable and charming as Tars. And he really knows how to make Tars a very distinctive character. It was just a fantastic performance all around. And then we get Michael Caine as the father. Well, the father of Amelia, Mr. Brand. What more can you say about Michael Caine? He's Michael Caine. He's done a lot of fantastic movies and has been praised by fans and critics everywhere. And this is definitely another fine role from him. So, overall, there was a lot of top notch acting. So, overall, even though there are some elements of this film, like in terms of its story or characters, aren't really anything that's spectacular or groundbreaking, this film really shines in terms of its visuals, its extremely stunning visuals, and such top notch acting and top-of-the-line music coming from Hans Zimmer. This film I can really see it being a great candidate for the Academy Awards, and it's very easy to see why. When it comes to films from Christopher Nolan, he really knows how to delve into the human mind, and he really knows how to keep up the tension and really get the essence of what makes human beings tick. So, without further ado, I will give this film a 4.5 out of 5. It is extremely worth your time. It is so well deserved of the score, and if you haven't seen this film yet, I highly suggest you check it out. It is so worth watching, especially when you have a lot of fine performances from McConaughey, Hathaway, Chastain, Caine, and many others, especially when it comes to the most stunning visuals that you'll ever see. And it's definitely going to make it as a nominee for the best in editing. Well, at least that's one of the categories that I'm sure it's going to make. So, yeah, there's also Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Actress for each of the actors that participate in this film, but we will see. Well, that's all for now. Looks like I might have to be in another hiatus once more because, like I said in my earlier video, I'll be very busy in terms of performances and, well, outside my very busy schedule, I've been also watching the anime Chrono Crusade. So, turns out that it's so far a really great anime. So, even though I don't own the DVD yet, I might be reviewing this anime. So, until then, this is Antoni signing.